You see the Sky Kitty right here? That thing is gonna kill you. And if you don't bring enough counters, it's gonna keep killing you. And that's gonna be the topic of today's video. One of the most common mistakes that I see is not bringing enough counters to single entity monsters, even more so against flying single entity monsters. Now let's take a look and see what happens when you let these things run unopposed. In this case, however, it is not that they are unopposed, it's that they are inadequately being countered. We've got Cathay versus Chaos Dwarves and Khorne. So, on paper, should be a very simple fight, right? Not so much. Not so much. Now, one of the big mistakes that Chaos Dwarves make is very badly positioning these Hell Cannons. And that costs them an entire unit from the very beginning of the battle. Just looking at this map, Chaos Dwarves should have deployed atop of this hill and tried to rush or wait for the reinforcements rather than trying to get pot shots with one of the slowest artillery pieces in the whole game, which by now they have lost both of them. So things are already not looking good. But that is not really a problem. The reinforcing army should be more than enough to grind out any kind of infantry or even range they have. But what they don't have is an answer to these flying murder kitties. They're called Celestial Lions, but they're way too cute for that. So what answers did they actually bring? Well, they brought the classic Chaos Dwarf answer to single entity monsters, Bull Centaur Renders. Now, I love this unit. I have sung its praises up and down, but this is just not enough. They have at most 6 of them versus about 9 single entity monsters. This is simply not enough Bull Centaur Renders to be able to deal with that. Bull Centaur Renders are a good unit, and with their Hellforge upgrades, they can definitely trade upwards. But look at these stats. 49 attack, 43 defense, and they've got 25 bonus forces large. Very respectable. With 15 models, they can do pretty good. In contrast, 54 attack and 52 defense. This is just not going to be a good time. Now, one of the best things that the Bull Centaur Renders have is their Hellforge upgrades. They can get times and a half regeneration as long as they're in melee. They can also get Murderous Charge, which it gives them a huge melee damage bonus upon charging, and they can get barriers, but they do not have that active here. So looking against this lineup, this is not looking good. This is a very intimidating lineup. Right now, Cathay has the range advantage. They have got the monsters advantage. They've got the magic advantage, arguably. So there just isn't much that Khorne and Chaos Dwarfs can do. So their plan is going to be throw their weight against the Cathay lines and hope to survive. Well, let's speed things up and see how things go. Khorne and Chaos Dwarf players are coordinating their advance, with Khorne players attacking from the middle, and the Chaos Dwarfs using these hills as a means to approach. Pretty good idea, but Cathay, their main line is going to be halberds. Halberds are anti-large in and of themselves. They will not be able to beat anything too major, but they will still be able to beat these Cathay Fireborn. So Cathay Fireborn are not a very good answer against Cathay. What they really should have gone with was infantry. It should have been more Ironsworn Warriors or something of that sort rather than Cathay Fireborn. Now, Cathay Fireborn can be very useful in this matchup if they can be maneuverable. Their speed is unfortunately just 54, so they will need a lot of support in order to be used to disrupt the gun lines of Cathay. Single entity monsters, one of the biggest advantages is their mobility, and with that they quickly wipe out that catapult, giving Cathay the only source of range damage. We've got the Cathay Fireborn summon on top of those cannons. Very good choice. We've got Chaos Army abilities going down on those halberds. But unfortunately, that is simply not going to be enough. Ooh, we've got Fires of Asgorn, a classic AoE spell which Draz gets massive discounts on, and one of the big answers to single entity monsters is used by Cathay, Final Transmutation. Now, Final Transmutation on its own will not be able to kill the enemy monsters, but what it is going to do is soften them up for the rest of your units to finish them off. So if you've got these very powerful Chosen of Khorne, one of the best melee units in the game, slowly marching forwards, but they need a lot more speed if they want to survive this kind of bombardment. We already have one of them that got routed. Most of them are damaged by the time they make it to the lines, which Chaos Dwarves already are engaged in. Well, there isn't going to be much left of them. That said, these lines are just tearing apart those Chaos lines, just piece by piece, and they're not taking any damage. That is one of the biggest advantages of these single entity monsters. They'll take very little damage because they've got a lot of health, they've got fantastic stats, versus the units that they're fighting. It will be very difficult to do damage to them. And we've got another, you see this blob over here? This is just a perfect target for Final Transmutation. And you see those health bars going down just every second. That's a Dreadquake Mortar, which has done significantly more damage to Khorne than it did to Cathay, so that was a very bad cast for Chaos Dwarves. And all you have to do in multiplayer campaigns, it's single entity monsters are much more powerful compared to single player, because you can give the control of them to another player who will be able to control them independently, taking out the biggest threats with the minimal risk. And that's exactly what they're doing. You can see the Cathay lines falling. The Chosen of Khorne have finally engaged with those lines. They are doing their job, and they're doing it very, very well. But the biggest threat still remains all of those, this whole litter of those Celestial Lions, those flying murder kitties. The Khorne and Chaos Dwarves do not have an answer to it. They really do not have an answer to it. They have these Bull Centaur renders, which has just got hit with Transmutation of Lead. They are getting shot at. They are just not enough, and they aren't even fighting those Celestial Lions. The Celestial Lions have that mobility. They can fly, they can maneuver, they can fly over those Bull Centaur renders, and the Bull Centaur renders are vulnerable to all of that cannon fire. Now, I want to applaud the position of these cannons. Just look at their visibility. They can get a lot of damage just shooting into this location. Or just from here, every target they pick, they've got direct vision, and that means maximum damage. They already have done 2,500 gold in terms of damage, which is very good for that type of artillery. That's a rather cheap artillery unit. You know, it's just the tier 2. That's a Flames of Asgorn that has been very badly placed, so it barely does any damage, but that blob over there is a good target for Searing Doom. You can tell whoever is helping Cathay is much more experienced compared to whoever has planned the Chaos Dwarf armies in this case. Or at least just playing better. Oh, that's the sound of Final Transmutation going down, and Celestial Lands, they're just flying around. They don't need to be doing anything, because the rest of the army is doing exactly that. They're recovering, and there's nothing that can contest their position. And now they're chasing our ball. See, half of these units really should have been chasing this hero. They should have been chasing these running units. Might have been dueling Draz. But even when you're playing them, even when you're not using them to their full advantage, they are absolutely dominating the battlefield. They are not taking any damage. And well, they are like an unstoppable force right now. You need specific counters to these single entity monsters. So Cathay and Khorne is finally lined up. They have lost, Cathay has lost almost all of their range. And Khorne has only left with their final contingent of forces. The Celestial Lions have started dueling Drazoth. And they're finishing off Arbal. If Arbal goes down, the Khorne armies will lose a lot of their balance of power and will get significantly closer to army losses. Armor of Contempt goes down, which is an ability that Chaos Dwarfs can use. They all activated their abilities, their army abilities. Now, Chaos Dwarfs have used the Curse of Hashut. It is a form of Spirit Leech. Now, right here, you see the Ash Storm. Ash Storm makes everything in all the enemy units within its radius vulnerable. Oh, no, all the units, not just enemy units, vulnerable to fire damage. Now, that means if they cast a fire spell, such as Flames of Asgore right here, it can do significantly more, 25% more damage to everything around it. And that is one way I like to use Flames of Asgore and Ash Storm combination. Realizing Drazoth alone is not going to be enough to fight those Celestial Lions. They have taken a lot of damage, mostly from Draz. Good micro on those single entity monsters can be one of the biggest threats an army can face, and if you do not bring enough answers, well, this will happen to you.